It's your boy from the room back with another banger, man. Make sure you hit the like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we got a nice little article we're going to read today, which is basically the New York Times article on how Joe Budden basically became the GOAT podcaster, to be honest. So we're basically going to go through how much people make and basically how much he makes. So it's like a giant flex to the people. Previously before he was doing that, it was calling Joe Budden seats. And, it seemed like they were trying to clown him a little bit. But he definitely flexed and he's showing his pay stub. He's letting y'all know if y'all want to see his numbers for so many years, the accounting numbers and all that stuff. I mean, bro, now it's on the article. I mean, let's get straight to it. Now, this article is written by Jessica Testa. The podcaster Joe Budden, an ex-rapper who has been called the Howard Stern of hip-hop, wanted to flex a little. He accidentally overflexed. Last month, he posted a screenshot of his traffic from Patreon, a subscription service that allows fans to pay creators directly through monthly contributions. It showed more than 30 million visits in 30 days. Revenue figures on the Patreon data had been scribbled over, but sleuths manipulated the image, and to them, it appeared that he had earned more than $900,000, a number that made headlines. That was just his earnings from month of June. Overall, the Joe Budden Network is on pace to generate more than $20 million this year, according to his chief executive, Ian Schwartzman. Mr. Budden agreed to share those and other details about his podcast business with the New York Times, offering a rare window into the economics of podcasting. Publishers of shows rarely share details of their revenue or even their download or streaming figures. They want to maintain a competitive edge in their advertising marketplace. And like many private businesses, simply aren't keen to open their books. Mr. Budden's reason for releasing figures now, he said in the interview, goes beyond flexing. He and Mr. Schwartzman want to make a broader argument for maintaining independence as creators. They have been podcasting for a decade. Although they spent 2 years working exclusively with Spotify, they are not affiliated with any outside podcast network or media company today. The money coming in. So far this year, the Joe Budden Network has earned an average of $1.4 million per month on Patreon. It has about 70,000 paying subscribers. Subscriptions range from $5 to $50 per month, with higher tiers granted access to more episodes, including from spin-off shows. 2 weekly episodes of the flagship podcast are released free to the general public. This means its 2025 subscription revenue will probably exceed $12 million. Enough to make Mr. Budden the top earner of the crowdfunding platform. That status and Mr. Budden's figure were confirmed by a spokeswoman for Patreon. But subscriptions are not the podcast only revenue stream. Advertising also generates several $1 million. Mr. Schwartzman said, Mr. Budden's company sells its own ads, unlike many other top podcasters who team up with large networks like iHeart, Wandery, or SiriusXM and split the ad revenue. These companies typically offer hosts an upfront check, a minimum guarantee, but control the rates and the number of commercials played each episode. Mr. Schwartzman said that the company tried to not oversaturate our audience with ads, usually working with a maximum of only 3 sponsors at any given time. The network's smaller revenue sources include money from passive advertisement on social platforms, like the ads that play automatically during his videos on YouTube, where Mr. Budden has more than 1.5 million followers. He was an early adopter in 2016 of video podcasting. The company also sells merchandise and licenses some of its content. The money going out. The Joe Budden Network employs more than 30 independent contractors in roles such as production and administrative support. Payment of these contractors and the on-air talent is the company's biggest expense. For example, more than $1.5 million annually goes to the co-hosts of the Joe Budden podcast. They include Trevor Robinson, known as Queen's Flip, Mark Lamont Hill, Melissa Ford, Parks Valley, Antoine Marby, known as Ish, and Lamar Burney, known as Ice. After inadvertently flashing some of his revenue to 1.7 million Instagram followers, Mr. Budden joked that now everybody's asked for a raise. Other costs include production fees, marketing expenses, and real estate. The company is in the process of purchasing for roughly $2 million the waterfront condominium unit in Edgewater, New Jersey, where it records audio and video for the Joe Budden podcast. It currently rents the unit. Residents in the building have complained about sharing space with the operation. Mr. Budden's approach reflects an emerging trend amongst podcasters and creators. a desire for more autonomy and equity in every deal, with fewer middlemen. Learning this lesson took time. In 2017, while Mr. Budden was co-hosting the show on the culture website Complex, we were just getting by, Mr. Schwartzman said. I was on an allowance, Mr. Budden said, $500 a week. Then, from 2018 to 2020, the Joe Budden Podcast had a licensing agreement with Spotify that paid the show less than $2 million per year. Mr. Schwartzman said the deal included no shares in advertisement revenue or stock, and the podcast could be published only to Spotify. After a rather acrimonious split, the podcast sought a new partner, but the real deal never materialized. One potential contract would have paid $44 million over 2 years, for example, but required removing all content from YouTube. The bigger the money gets, the more strings that are attached. Mr. Schwartzman said, we wanted someone to acknowledge how bro we were by showing that they would be comfortable giving us skin in the game. The Creator Wars. Patreon came along in 2021, offering no guaranteed check, but equity in the company and advisory roles for Mr. Budden and Mr. Schwartzman. Joe is in a league of his own, said Jack Conte, chief executive of Patreon. It is not common for people to make $1 million a month on Patreon. The Joe Budden Network reached that milestone in November, maintaining it every month since. Recently, subscription platforms like Patreon and its younger competitor, Substack, have pushed more aggressively for podcasters to sign up, promising independence and control over their intellectual property, sometimes with grand language about a media revolution. Creators have more leverage and control than actually ever before in the history of arts, Mr. Conte said. This year, Substack announced a $20 million fund to help entire creators away from Patreon and other rivals. These platforms also benefit from taking a roughly 10% cut to creators' earnings. Podcasters on Patreon earn more than $472 million collectively in 2024, up 35% from 2023. According to the company. Yet many creators still feel daunted when they hear the word paywall, Mr. Budden said. Given the success of Joe Rogan or Alex Cooper, it may seem more attractive to a young podcaster to pursue a big network deal. Which is why after the screenshot blunder, Mr. Budden opted to disclose his independent earnings for the first time here. Even if it made him and his business partner, quote unquote, uncomfortable to put any money situation out there for the public and competitors to see. Mr. Schwartzman said, how else would they know they can do it this way? Now, that's basically the entire article. Let me know what you guys think. Jessica Testa did a great job writing it. But my raw thoughts and just, after soaking in all that knowledge about their business practices, just lets me know that they are setting the standard. They're really setting the standard. And Patreon itself, for them to be the top earner in Patreon and after the deal with Spotify, you would think if you were a hater, you're like, all right, where are they going to go next? Like, how are they going to bounce back if you felt like that was an L or whatever? And they bounced back with probably the greatest business decision in the history of podcasting, which is just take it over to Patreon. And they're all about having as much control as they possibly can, like creative controls, I think of like the music industry in a sense. Like because I didn't grow up on Howard Stern because that's like a generation before me. But, I will call this, because I'm a hip hop head, I will call him like the Jay-Z of podcasting because of how I think about how Jay-Z moved in hip hop itself and how he just went from being the artist to now the owner in the business and basically making way more money than the average artist can, you know what I'm saying, on his own. And he's so deep into that development that even if you're behind him, you're very far behind Jay-Z. You see what I'm saying? So when you think about those two correlations, I feel like that's where Joe Budden kind of got a lot of his, business savviness, is kind of like how his game in the hip hop industry, like how everything he learned in the hip hop industry, like all the negatives to me, because a lot of negatives, and how they just take and take and take and take and take. He learned so much from that. Then when he come to podcasting, or that when he did come to podcasting, it was like, all right, now I'm able to, and it was very new. Like it was new. Like they said, he was the first person to do the video podcasting. Like that's crazy. Like this dude is legit a pioneer. Like when in 100 years, like his name has to be in the history books for this like sphere of podcasting. Because growing up, podcasting wasn't even a word. Like I've never even heard of that, right? And then it's like all I know is the JBP. They the ones that made that like a stamp. And then everybody else, as you can see now, everybody else is a podcasting has now become like rapping. Like I'm telling you, it's the exact same concept a little bit in a sense. Longer talking, that's all it is. But the it seems like the ideology of it all. It just seems like it's coincides with hip hop. And that's what's pretty dope because this was built off of basically talking about hip hop, and is branched off of and branched into bigger and better topics and things because, you know, there's real world issues or there's real world events going on day to day. Hip hop is dope, but we can't let the whole world revolve around one thing, right? In order to make the most money in the world, right? $1 million, you just can't close yourself off and compartmentalize yourself. You have to be broad. And that's kind of what I'm seeing his tactics are. And especially now that I see him hiring Mark Lamont Hill, I'm seeing that transition from being just in a box and then kind of now it's kind of universal. It's like they can take it anywhere in media, which is like to me rare and hard to do because especially if you're on YouTube or other places, you have to be in a specific niche. You have to be in a specific category. It seems like Joe Budden Podcast is like he's able to do a lot of different things that a lot of creators can't do, but he's also giving you the blueprint and giving you the tools. Now, for me, dropping these numbers lets me know that he's shitting on the people that I believe that is in that building, right? In his New Jersey Edgewater place, because at first I was thinking, all right, he's just shitting on Joe, Fat Joe and all this other people that was just hating on him and 50 Cent, all that stuff, right? And it could be that too, but I think a piece of it has to do with the Edgewater community people. Now, this is just a theory, right? And I don't really do Joe Budden podcast theories, but this is just my theory, right? Because of that recent lawsuit, or not the recent lawsuit, but I don't know if, I guess it was a lawsuit, right? The lewdness or whatever, right? When Joe Budden was in the apartment, whatever, right? Sleepwalking. After that, you kind of you got to finally hear how the neighbors actually feel about him in his podcast. And I didn't know that they was even in a apartment in a sense doing all that. I mean, it looks giant, so, you know. But either way, they seem to hate him, all right? Like, and hate in a different type of hate. Not hate as if like, oh, I want that. Like, no, they hate him as if he shouldn't be in that position, in my opinion, how I perceive it. You know what I'm saying? This is no bias. I would keep it a bean if it's like, oh, Joe, you acting out, right? But like how those neighbors was attacking Joe Budden lets me know it's a little racial barrier in it and a little bit of like, you're not really supposed to be here with us. Like, we don't want, if it was Joe Rogan doing all Joe Rogan stuff in that little area, there'll be no complaints there. I wholeheartedly believe that. But because this dude is making $1 million in a month now, his neighbors know he's making $1 million in a month. And his goal is to buy that whole land, right? So, and it makes sense rather than moving to a different location. And, the aesthetic of that area has been such a stamp, like how when he was in the park's basement, it looks like it was a stamp, the look, right? So now this new look is perfect, the waterfront in the back, all that stuff, right? So that's my biggest theory, is that I believe that he dropped this not only to probably inspire creators or to, shit on his ops, but to basically let the people in that area know that he's a big boss and he's not just some dude out there just spamming sirens. Cause they was like, oh, he's just spamming gunshot sounds and he's doing it more now. Like, it was like that. If you read that case, it's a lot of hate in that case. And I read that case for y'all, right? So now I'm reading this and they kind of brought that up just for a little bit. But, that's my crazy theory, is that, this is for them Edgewater people that be hating. This is for that neighbor that like is hating when I come through with my peoples and y'all saying that, oh, it's like when J. Cole dropped Neighbors, right? The neighbors think I'm selling dope, right? I don't want a picture with the president. Listen, that's a fact. I believe that what I'm saying, if it's not factual, is damn near close to it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. I would love to hear y'all theories and what y'all expound on the situation. And what are your thoughts on the situation? Joe Budden has made his podcast generational. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's generational at this point. And the people, like the workers, for one, all the employees, right? It's like 30, they said 30 independent workers, right? That's a lot of people to feed, right? And they saying he's spending $1.5 million on just the cast members, right? So my original reaction video, I was thinking they was making like, I was lowballing there, like 8, and like saying they was probably making like, what I say, 10 or 11, 12, something like that. But I felt like all that was low, right? But then it comes out now they're making 20K each. It seems like that's a nice amount to just, technically, if y'all want to say they dropping 2 podcasts on YouTube a week, right? Even though they're doing other podcasts on Patreon. If you're looking at it from just their YouTube, bro, 20,000 to just drop twice, it's absolutely crazy. As anyone that I feel like is in the field of creating, like, isn't that dope that you could probably walk away with $200,000 a year to just speak your mind? And to me, like, I relate it to rap in a sense, like hip hop, right? Because it's like a long form hip hop. It's less thinking of the bars, because when it comes to, especially I'm talking about rap, you have to think and you have to, use your brain, and it's kind of premeditated thinking. Podcasting kind of just seems like you got to just go through it. Like, you could premeditate think on the spot, but you can't make it look like you're really thinking of a bar. You can't choke, right? That's basically what I'm saying. So I'm noticing the correlations and the way that he seemed to maneuver in the podcast sphere, to me, lets me know that he learned a lot, and I mean a lot, from the hip hop business itself. And I'm not gonna call him the Howard Stern, because I don't know much about Howard Stern, right? Howard Stern is a GOAT in the podcast and just the sphere in general and just radio, right? But I'm talking about from like just more urban name. I'm calling him the Jay-Z of podcasting, bro. This dude is the whole of podcasting. There's just nobody else I don't know, because Diddy would have been the other person that was a great businessman. But I just feel like the way Jay-Z does business is a lot cleaner, or looks better to me. I don't know. NFL, Brooklyn Nets, before the Brooklyn Nets came out, title streaming services, sell the Brooklyn Nets stakes, get some drink. Like, he's just like business. And I feel like anybody who's in the business or entrepreneur or creator, content creator, if you're independent in general, whether it's music, whether it's art, like legit art, or technology, anywhere, any sphere, you can learn a lot from the blueprints that he's doing. You kind of want a lot more ownership over your content rather than allowing so many people to eat off you. You know what I'm saying? Try to lessen the middlemen. That's a lot. That's what I learned from this article. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. It's been boy, for me to run back with another banger, man. Peace.